not only I am the only woman in the panel, but I am the only one who's not going to read. I'm going to talk. Okay. I came to New York in 1985. And when I arrived here, besides my first book of poems that I had with me, I also came accompanied by a huge sense of frustration after a long period of a dictatorship in Argentina. And when I arrived, I remember that I fell in love with Manhattan. Although, or because, New York seemed to me to be at the same time like the center of the world and the best catalog of the third world at the same time. Living here, as Claudio Remeseira wrote in his article for El País in a very interesting way, means or gives an artist and a writer, I think, the great opportunity of kind of unlearning who he or she is. You learn in a way to start thinking anew. Wim Wenders, the cinematographer, the film director, said that you can discover a second childhood when you move you go to another country. So I would say that those are advantages for someone who wants to create. But I'd like to concentrate tonight, for the sake of time, on another aspect and reflect, because soon after I was here, it was clear to me that there were some things that I didn't understand quite well and that forced me to reflect on what it meant to be a writer in this culture, a Latin American writer. So I'd like to relate two experiences very shortly. One is very soon after I was here, I sent a manuscript of a book of poems to a publisher in Texas. It was my fault. I didn't know who I was sending it to, but it doesn't matter. The point is that I sent him Islandia, which is a series of poems rewriting the Icelandic sagas, and he wrote a letter back where he said to me, we're sorry, we're not going to publish this. This is not Latin American literature. So that's number one. The second experience I had is, this is a scene, this is in the 80s in Soho, in a loft, where I got to listen to a Latin American poet who was standing, so I'm getting to this loft together with, people in, black clothes and, cool, punky style. And I find in a very dark loft a poet surrounded by stones, candles, and using that instrument which resembles rain. And I said to myself, I don't see this happening in Bogota or Buenos Aires. How come is this poet doing this with such a success in New York? Okay, so I wrote largely about this in an essay that is in the book Ciudad Gótica, where I tried to go beyond, the surface and ask myself, where was all this coming from? It's obvious that the impression is that you have is that there is, as Jorge mentioned, a stereotypical formula of what a Latin American literature should be, and it's simple enough. I mean, you mix a little bit of culinary arts plus eroticism plus magic realism plus, if possible, some political rhetoric, and you get it. Okay, so but besides, but the question is, why does that happen? And of course there are a couple of elements there. One would be a sort of a situation where some, I would call it good conscience from some sectors in the American culture, united with the participation of some of us who take advantage of what the market or people are expecting. But besides that, there's the paradox of something that it's really hard to understand. How on the one side we Latin Americans do have a space here, right? And at the same time, how that space pushes us or sends us to a secluded space in a way. I'm not expressing myself very well. It's a sort of very subtle thing, right? There's no one here who lacks a space, but at the same time, in a way, that space is separated from the mainstream, right? So what I call that in Spanish getificación, right? Getification. So in a way, it's not that I should say clearly. It's not that I'm against diversity, or of course not. I know for my own experience what it means when you live in a place where political and aesthetic and vital options are not allowed, not only for political reasons or for repression, but even from it's avoided or it's prevented through some narrow-mindedness in cultural. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. I didn't write, so it's taking longer. So I think that I will try to stop here and maybe continue when questions are asked.
It was, doesn't matter if it was a bit longer, but you certainly established a point there that we can pick up in the discussion and the questions here.